Again, it's Derek here from Quiet Nature. Going to give you a little tour of our backyard pond, the first swim pond we built in 2013, the experiment grounds and prototype where we've learned most of what we've learned about swim ponds and how to make them work better, things that do and don't work. We get into the yard here, you can sort of see the extent of the pond itself. Overall, we're divided into two sections. Closest to us ranges from 18 inches deep to 3 feet deep. It's rock lined to look more like a natural pond. The other side is your typical timber framed swimming pond. It's a 16 by 32 swim zone with bare liner, and you see the planted regeneration zone around the outside, and the underwater wall, which we've used tamarack or larch, which is also the boardwalk and deck and other wood structures here are made out of. On this pond we currently draw from 4 locations. I have 2 retrofit bottom draw intakes underneath the boardwalk to catch debris that comes across as the stream moves. One in the bottom of the deep end, which also has an aeration stone, and through the opening in the vegetation at the end, a large skimmer box. We're using that to catch as much floating sediment and debris and everything else that we can. I pull to an external pump. I like to use a variable speed pump. On this pond here, it's a Hayward EcoStar, which isn't made anymore. And now we tend to use Performance Pro, which is dedicated for the pond industry. So we're down to the heart and soul of the system that we've started to use. The variable speed pump to an Aquadyne bead filter with the blower for backwashing, and the Delta EP40 UV lamp as a backup just in case sterilizer to make sure we can eliminate harmful pathogens from the water that tend to show up with bird feces or the like, or a child accident. We want to make sure that we can cover that if we need to. The return points of the pond, we have a line that dips under into perforated PVC that wells up through about 18 inches of stone and pea stone, all granite, within the regeneration zone. It actually continues past the boardwalk, the piping, and wells up to the stone, getting down towards the waterfall at the far end. You can see the planting areas are fairly well established. This was built in 2013, it's 2020 now, so it's nearly 7 years old. A lot of cattails, predominantly sweet flag or acorus. Been thinning out the cattails, and it's also lots of submergence, and I tend to throw some floating tropicals and hyacinths and water lettuce and such in every year just to fill up space and help absorb nutrients. See, our other main return point is to the stream and waterfall. Right now it's on a relatively low speed with the variable speed pump, which I like. It gives better exposure and kill time in the UV chamber if we're trying to make sure the water is safe as we can. I also have a return point underneath this deck here that was added after the fact to give a little extra circulation to a dead spot that I found I had there. You can see the clarity of the water. One of my kids threw a stone in the bottom. It's actually bare liner on the bottom. It's been covered with a layer of sort of calcium and scale and a bit of algae, so a lot of people look at it and think it's one big sheet of rock. I think it looks fairly natural. It's not too bad. 6 foot deep in the deep end. You can see the bottom with the aerator going. You can't see it quite as well. It blocks your vision down. I don't clean this pond nearly as often or thoroughly as most of our clients do, so if you snorkel down to the bottom there, you'll see a whole lot of leaves and debris. We tend to recommend a robot vacuum. I just don't have one for myself, so mine doesn't get to stay as clean. Maybe one day I'll invest in one for ourselves. You see the rock-lined shallow portion of the pond. It looks nice. Kids like to play in it. They've got sort of graduated depths down to about 3 feet here, around 2 feet over at that ring, and a little bit shallower if you sneak in this corner on this rock. The rock does make it harder to clean or to keep clean, so it really depends your taste or expectations for cleanliness. When you swim around in here, a lot more debris tends to get stirred up and float around while you're playing and swimming in the water. As long as some of that debris doesn't bother you, then the rock line bottom isn't such a bad thing. I would tend to now, if recreating that, put a whole lot more circulation points in and around this to keep the water moving and less chance of debris buildup. You see, especially right after the waterfall, if you look close, you see a lot of dirt and sediment settles out right there. I don't really want to keep a pump rocking at full speed or have multiple pumps to think that I can stop anything from ever settling out in this pond, because that wouldn't likely happen. Here's some of our happy water plants. Nice little ornamental lilies, and like I said, I'd like to put in some hyacinths. We've got some Menyanthus, I believe is buck bean, and burr reeds, pickerel, weeds, arrowheads, lilies. Could do another video just showing the different plants that are in the pond. Lots of irises around the edge. So the pump that starts the stream and waterfall actually sends the water up to the top here, where we have a little wetland system. We have an elevated pond. It's about 2 feet above the water level of the pond, and perforated pipe underneath, about 18-20 inches of river rock and gravel and pea stone. And this is all filled in with a glyceria grass, some cattails and irises and a few hyacinths, which then starts off the stream. I think creates the illusion quite well of this artificial creation to make it look like it's something real. Coming along, a little step across, back down to the waterfall, and our little sun lounge sitting rock. Good place to enjoy a cool beverage on a hot day. That's our pond.